This is a small nuke that I did a split on Thursday evening, and it's Sunday, so Friday would be one day, Saturday would be 2 days, Sunday would be, so we're in the third day of this being split. We're going to take a look at how the bees are acting towards this queen cage. I didn't do anything with this queen cage other than just to install it. I didn't pop the candy or the cork. We just like to put them in, and then we'll direct release them or do something else. What's interesting on these bees, and this is something that when you look at this bee right here and this bee right here, you can see this flutter going on, and that's not in the camera. That's actually, they kind of slow down they do a flutter, not a buzz, not a fan. And pretty much that tells me, if I go into a hive and I see a lot of bees on the top bars with that flutter going on, that tells me that hive is usually a queenless hive. They're doing it right now. We've got this queen in here. We're gonna take a look at this queen, and the queen cage has just been sitting on the top bars. There's a shim, as you can see, that goes around to give it space, and the bees are on this particular cage. So let's take a look at how these bees are treating this queen. There, this is just down pretty good. I don't want to disturb the bees too much, so I'm going to just flip this cage over. I can see inside of this cage, looks like the queen is right there, so she's running around, and let's just watch and see what the bees do. One of the tests that I look for is if the bees are clinging tightly to the screen. If the bees are clinging tightly to the screen, they're trying to get a grip so they can actually sting the queen through the cage, or sting the queen if she was there. So these bees are, to me, look like they're milling around. Don't look like they have a lot of anything going on. But let's just take and do a finger test. We just swipe across here, and if these bees were attached really hard, they would I would feel them click as I go across, because I'm forcing them to release their grip. But I'm not getting any sense of I'm hanging out here on my finger. I'm not getting any sense that they're really being aggressive towards this queen. So it's been 3 days. I'll probably just direct release this queen into this split, and we'll see what happens. It's kind of hard to film this, so I'll set the camera down, and we'll see if I can show you what I'm going to do. But as I said, we did a finger test, finger swipe. We just took our finger and came across. Doesn't feel like there's any resistance to the bees. So what we're going to do, there's two sides to this. There's a candy on this side, and there's a cork on this side, and there's a direct release cork over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pry this direct release cork out. Need something sharp, because some of these corks are hard to get to. Most of it out. This one's being difficult. There, we got the end out. So now there's a queen in there, and what I'm going to do is I'll set this back on here, and we'll see if that queen comes out. Sometimes you'll find the candy totally eaten out of these cages, and the queen will be stuck inside, and she just doesn't know that she's supposed to come out. But generally, if you direct release them like this, they'll usually walk out within a short period of time. And we may or may not be able to see it. There are so many bees that are covering this is covering this cage. Sometimes you'll see them if they're marked there a little bit easier, but she may just sneak right out through that group of bees and then be moved down into the frames, and that'll be that. Never to be seen again. We can watch, but I don't see her. Some of the bees will enter the cage and trying to get to her. But yesterday I released one that came out and right up on top of the cage, and for about 20 seconds, 30 seconds, was being fed by a nurse bee right on top of the cage. So I removed the cage, took a look, unless we see it on the video, didn't see her come out, go down in between the frames, but we'll look at the video afterwards and we might be able to see what she's done. But she's not in the cage. There are other bees in the cage, but so she's out, and we'll just close this up. We're not going to get in and disturb these bees. We're not going to go see what she's doing. We don't need to know what she's doing. We don't want to stress these bees any more than we are. We want them to be relaxed and accepting that queen. So we're gonna just take the shim off, put the inner cover back on, and put it back together. And maybe in a couple days we'll come in and see if she's laying eggs. But probably don't really need to look at this for 3 to 5 days out, maybe a week out, to see how she's doing. So I found something interesting on this queen cage when I pulled it out and got to looking at it. I took off the screen off the front, and this wax paper here covers the candy that's in the hole. So this third hole, this is a 3-hole, that's why they call this a 3-hole cage. We've got 1, 2, 3 holes. This third hole is full of candy. And what's interesting on this, after 3 days, the bees, the nurse bees, there were probably 4 or 5 of them on the inside, had dug all that candy out, probably fed it through the screen that was on top, fed it through this screen to the other bees and removed it. So it didn't matter really what side of the cork I would have hit. This would have been a direct release. So sometimes we say, okay, now it's time to do the candy side, and we would pop the cork on this side over here where the candy is, but in this case there wasn't any candy left, so it would have been a direct release. So just an interesting little tidbit.